How's it going, everyone? Merry Christmas. This is my Christmas video for this year with a little bit of a commander deck that's a little on the thematic side that I call Getting Grinchy, featuring Riku of the Two Reflections in a deck that's meant to either steal your opponent's stuff permanently, the Grinch part, or to kind of take them, borrow them, and then give them back, kind of like the Grinch stealing things and then having a change of heart. So let's get into this deck, hit the greatest hits, and then you can check out the full deck list down in the description below. So if you're feeling fully Grinchy with this deck, let's talk about some of the things I would say are the parts of stealing Christmas that are permanent theft, such as Empress Galena, which can take any legend or legendary permanent, which is kind of, very mean if you're going to steal your opponent's commander from them with it. Or Agent of Treachery comes into play. You get to swipe any permanent, it's on your side. And if you have multiple permanents up to 3, you get to start drawing cards off of this. We also have Blatant Thievery, which is just flat out mean because you get to steal one of everything your opponents have. Or Blue Sun's Twilight, which not only can steal something with an X cost, you pay into it, you steal the stuff up to that mana cost, but then if you pay 5 or more, you get a copy of it. These are just really mean cards to play, but they fit into the Grinch thematic I want to work with here. Or if you don't want to get that mean and you just rather have the borrowing of things and then give it back and like the Grinch having a change of heart, you can use something like Helm of Possession, where you sacrifice one of your creatures, use the helm and you steal it, and then eventually you can release it back to them. Or Captivating Crew, you pay 4 mana, you get to steal something, and then eventually it goes back to them at the end of the turn. Mass Mutiny, which is the much less dramatic version of Insurrection, where you get to steal one creature from their side of the board, and then you get to do whatever you want with it, and then at the end of the turn, they get them back. Or the Akroan War, which allows us to, steal something real quick, and then at the end, you get to actually start damaging their stuff, and you might wipe some stuff out at the end there as well. If you're going to be on the completely Grinchy side of things, I've also included things that signify Mount Crumpet, where he threatened to throw all the Christmas presents off the mountain with things like Greater Good and Goblin Bombardment. So you can either steal stuff permanently or even with the temporary theft spells, and then rather than give them back, you can throw them off the mountain and either draw cards or start blasting things with little bits of damage. Now, if you're not feeling totally Grinchy here, we can do something else instead of just simply stealing and start copying their stuff. We can start off with some single target copying like See Double, or we can use Spitting Image, Croaking Counterpart, or Mythos of Illuna. All of these things hit any single target on either side of the board. So if you have something you want to copy, you can copy it, or you can just straight copy something one of your opponents is doing. The choice is yours. See Double allows us to start doubling up on spells with the 2 parts of it. We also get to have Spitting Image, which you can actually retrace by pitching extra lands into it to get to keep doing the copying thing. Croaking Counterpart flashes back, and then Mythos of Illuna can actually hit anything, not just a creature, but it also hits permanents. So these are just really fun cards to mess around with. Or if you really want to just cause a mass amount of chaos while you're doing this, you can use a mass copying spell, such as Clone Legion, which copies all the creatures on one of your opponent's boards. Or Doppelgang, where we can start paying a bunch of mana into that X and start making multiple copies of many different permanents. We also have Theoretical Duplication. Now, this one is a little more narrow, but if your pod includes somebody who's messing around with like mass reanimation spells like Command the Dread Horde or Living Death or anything like that, you can actually launch a Theoretical Duplication into that spell before it resolves, and you can get a copy of everything they get out of the graveyard, and it's on your side as well. And then the last thing I would probably recommend here is Elminster's Simulacrum. This is actually a very fun card. You can actually take this thing and be like, okay, I'll take one of that, and that, and instead of stealing it like you would with Blatant Thievery, you go ahead and make a token copy of it on your side of the board. Now, of course, we all have a lot of these spells, and they are actually very expensive to cast, so we got to pay for this stuff. So we're going to go ahead and include a nice ramp package I call the Grinch's Green here, which is going to take advantage of the green mana we have in the deck. So we're going to use things like the usual suspects like Rampant Growth, Harrow, and Cultivate. We're also going to have some unique things going on here with like Coveted Jewel, Mana Flare, and Heartbeat of Spring, because this deck is kind of leaning towards a group huggish style deck, but not quite, since we are stealing things. Now, if you've seen any of the iterations of the Grinch, you know that once in a while, especially before he has his change of heart, he does like to play a little dirty, or at least try to. So in this case, we're going to include our own dirty tricks in the deck, such as Blasphemous Act, Burn Down the House, Season of Weaving, and Ill-Timed Explosion. These are all just great ways that if the board gets a little out of control, we can just, burn it to that all down to the ground, just to make a pun on Burn Down the House, and start over, or we can bounce everything back to the opponent's hands. Or, if you have access to it, Cyclonic Rift is a great card, but it is expensive. So I understand if you don't want to include that, but if not, you have a great suggestion there for that as well. And then as for the rest of the deck, I would include some things like Archmage of Runes. It's, draw a card and it spell discounts our instants and sorceries. Gandalf Westward Voyager, it's card draw and then the occasional copy of a spell. When you cast a 5-drop or higher from your hand, you get to reveal the top card of your opponent's library and you get to cast that spell if it matched the type of spell that you just cast. So it's either you're going to draw a card or you're going to get a copy. So that's just kind of fun to include here. Octomancer is really fun here because we have so many things that make token copies of things. This should be able to give us lots of bonus copies of whatever we're making each turn. And then Audience with Tristani, again, with just so many ways of making tokens, this can be a very nice burst of draw for just very little mana. So that is the highlights of the deck I call Getting Grinchy. If you want to see the full deck list, check it out in the description down below. And while you're down there, please like, share, comment, subscribe. All those things help the channel grow. We are almost to 1,200 subscribers here. I would love to hit that by the time we hit the end of the year. And as always, thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.